the guy had a full-on God complex, and I haven't even gotten to that part. I mean, you guys know, you saw the video probably. Aaron Boone gets tossed. And the funny thing is, the Yes broadcast went to bat for Aaron Boone without even having to say anything or do anything. They were zoomed in on him while he's like picking his fingernail or something. And he said, "You're out of here." And he's, "Are you kidding me? I didn't say anything." It was some fan who was wearing this blue jacket, which that was the memes for that were funny.
The best part was that he took off the jacket.
He took off the jacket like, oh, incognito mode. Like, he said something, still can't read the lips of that guy to save my life, but he said something. Hunter obviously is very emotionally soft, so he tossed Boone. Like, he literally he turns around and he just does this, and like the guy's right there that said it in the stand, so I thought he tossed him for a second. It was like, no, he actually threw Boone out of the game. And Boone was like, "Are you kidding me? I didn't say anything." And then this is where my blood boils, okay? Because I don't know what's happening at this moment. You don't know what's happening at home. Yes Network is so confused. They're like, they just tossed out Aaron Boone on the second batter of the game. And then we get the explanation because first off, the audio was so good. It was a little too good because you could hear all the cussing and everything. You get the audio and he says, "I don't care who said it. You're out of here." No, that is bullshit. There's no, "I don't care who said it." You clearly took something to the game where you were having a bad day in your pathetic life, and you came to the game and you took it out on the first person that you saw. And to me, that's unprofessional, but also I think it's grounds for a legitimate suspension and a fining. You're not doing your job correctly, and now you just put a team at a disadvantage, tossing their manager who can't invoke a game plan the same way that he would want to, because now he's got the bench coach running the team. Okay?
Do you remember, Jake, what I said
bullshit.
last time? It is. And you remember the last time we talked about umpiring in general, regardless of who it's against and who it helps.
And they're supposed to de-escalate the situation, Gary. He escalated the situation. He created the situation.
Jake, this was pitch 2 of the game. So what this proves, okay, if you can say enough in a pitch and a half of baseball, it proves at the very least here, regardless of what side you're on, that the home plate umpire and any other umpire, they're coming into these games with judgments on the managers that they're calling or the teams. We very, very clearly know Angel Hernandez has a gripe with the Philadelphia Phillies specifically. You're talking about Bryce Harper. You're talking about Schwarber. Now, definitely Harper has blasted him publicly. Now, again, it's your job. Do you want to be criticized publicly? No. Is it part of the human element where you're openly criticized and now personally you're going to change how you're doing your job? Yes, that's part of the human element. And again, this is what we're arguing shouldn't be allowed in Major League Baseball. And if there are going to be humans in this game, you need to hire only the humans who best get rid of that complex, where they're going to go into the past and they're going to judge you and call the game according to who they think you are. And that's a problem. Aaron Boone came into this game and the home plate umpire thought he knew Aaron Boone to a T and essentially had bunny ears, and we lost our manager for the game, who, by the way, has been calling a great season from the dugout. So we really enjoy the job he's doing. Did it probably impact the Yankees to lose this game? I can't say that. But what I can say is that he would have helped. So it was just stupid. It was bad for baseball. It will always be bad for baseball. Anytime we're talking about umpires as opposed to the players, as opposed to the managers or general managers, we are talking about a guy who's not good at his job and is taking it personal. He said, "Who cares who said it?" No, it didn't matter. You're right. Who cares who said it? It could have been Aaron Boone who said it. You're talking about pitch 2 in this game. He shouldn't be ejected. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And there's two things I want to say. The first thing is, to me, if you go off the handle that quickly, okay, we can talk about the emotionally soft aspect of it and how big of a loser you are. But in reality, Gary, the first thing I want to say is that it tells me their job is way too protected. They are way too comfortable. They, run around like they're playing cops. Okay. We're the law. You're not. People are here to see us. No, newsflash. No one is here to see you. They hate you. No one likes umpires. I
Have
mean,
you ever met someone that got an umpire's signature before a game?
no.
Me either.
I mean, think about it. The umpire that called that strikeout, the viral video, it was like I don't know, a single A game or maybe even a high school game. And the guy, obviously the batter was acting ridiculous. Okay. It was a bad call, but he's jumping up and down like, are you kidding me? And then the umpire calls it. It's way outside, like in the other batter's box, and he punches him out for the game over. That's awful. And that's again, what we're talking about. And then, I mean, there's plenty. I mean, the guy who threw the viral video that went around, it's from years ago. Never forget the guy that threw out the organist because he played Three Blind Mice. Did you ever see that?
Oh, yeah, I did. And they did that at Grand Canyon. I was actually at a Grand Canyon baseball game, and they did that exact same thing. And to be honest with you, this is a job, and umpiring is not the only job in the world that requires patience. It requires you to have the professional ability to understand, I'm going to be treated in a certain way, and I need to maintain professionalism.
Exactly.
And if you can't do that, it's like being a waiter and you have a rude customer. If you have a rude customer, that doesn't give you grounds to put your hands on somebody. It doesn't give you the grounds to start arguing with somebody. You know what happens when somebody is rude to you in customer service? Because I personally have worked in customer service. You go get somebody else to help. That's what happens. You don't get to just decide how you're going to deal with it. Oh, okay, you want to deal with me today this way? Well, I'm going to amplify that. You go take a shower on pitch 2 of the game. So you can very clearly see on TV, national television, the cameras are there. We're all watching the same thing. They have an attitude about how they're going about their business. They think they need to be addressed exactly the way that they need to be in order to be fair. Anytime you have that in a game where people are making livings, people are out here trying to win a pennant, they're trying to win a World Series, and you're talking about a job that affects economies. The New York Yankees being a part of a World Series, and I know we're talking about one game of the regular season, but again, these umpires are going to be there in October. These same umpires. Now, this guy might not get an assignment because he's absolute buttwater. However, these other umpires are just as protected as this guy. The same job.
Yeah.
The only difference is they're getting a little bonus at the end of the season. All of them are well paid, unfortunately. So I think the conclusion here is that the human element, at some point or another, something's got to give. I'm not trying to lose people their jobs, or we're trying to put robots in there and say humans just can't do this job. No, it's the human element can't be a part of this job. And I think that's the biggest issue that we're seeing. And yeah, is there going to be a bad strike zone when you have a human back there every once in a while? Yeah, but we can get past that. We eventually can work past it. But when you're talking about bringing it to a personal level and allowing people not to be a part of a game because your butt hurt, that's where I individually have a problem.
I agree. I was already heated from last night with the Colorado Rockies ending of that game because that's a home run. StatCast literally shows it's a home run. And my thing is, if we have the launch monitor and we have StatCast, that already knows it's a home run. Why do we need an umpire to be like, nah, the fan interfered, he's out? I mean, that's just awful. But I'm not going to get into that because that's not what this is about. My second point on this, and I want to make this very clear, because I've been following and I've been covering the NFL for as long as I have, I can tell you right now, I've watched Bill Belichick, I've watched Sean Payton, I've watched all sorts of head coaches say way worse than what most of these managers say to these umpires, and they don't get tossed. I've never seen a head coach get ejected in football. Okay. And you see basketball head coaches and they're on the court.
That's actually true.
They don't get ejected. And you have, NHL coaches, they're a little different because they stay in their box. They don't come out, but they say some heinous things. And you never see ejections. One reason I think a lot of people don't respect baseball is because how it's the opposite of what you would think. It's too traditional. It's like we never got over the fact, like, yeah, okay, respect your elders, respect the umpire, right? I was always told to respect blue. That's just how I was raised. I played baseball. I get that. But at the same time, you have to respect the players. You have to respect the coaches. There's no respect from these umpires. And that's really what it comes down to. And to me, there needs to be a process. You can't just do things in the court of law, right? There's a process to everything, right? There's a process in literally everything in any industry. But with umpires, you can toss someone if you don't like the way they look at you. Why is that? There should be no way in hell that you should be able to eject anybody in the first at bat of the game, the second at bat of the game. And to me, there should be a checks and balances thing here. Like, I give you a warning. Okay. I give you a second warning. Strike 3, you're out. I'm throwing you out of the game. See, with the NFL, with the illegal hits, you don't even get ejected for that. You have to have like 2 personal foul penalties to get ejected.
So there's too much subjectivity in baseball, and we're leaving the power in the hands of the people we frankly don't want to be in power. Yeah. And we've complained about commissioners.
It's all about subjectivity. Think about it.
Yeah.
There were 3 batters hit today, Gary. So based on what we've seen in the past, wouldn't that be grounds for throwing guys out or at least warning a bench?
Technically, yes. Technically, you can watch a first inning pitch. So we have to be literal here, because I think as podcasters, we need to remember there's something literal happening here that needs to be addressed. And you're actually scratching the surface of it right now, talking about the NFL and the fact that they can't eject anybody, like pretty much ever. Yeah. Right? So unless there's like a technicality that literally means you have to leave. Now, having said that, when you're talking about baseball, someone can get hit in the first inning, which you just brought up. There could be a first pitch, let's just say Anthony Volpe gets hit with the first pitch of a game on the road in Boston. And we're talking an October baseball game. He can get hit square in the back. The home plate umpire can have a preconceived notion about the character of the pitcher on the mound, about the character in the dugout. And he can decide solely, not from a committee of umpires, not the first base, the third base, and the guy past second base. No. Him individually. He can make the decision that Anthony Volpe is no longer a part of the game, because you looked out at the pitcher. You stared out at him too long, and I thought that you were going to escalate the situation, so I think you should be gone. Now, That's literally what we're looking at when it comes to the way that Major League Baseball is governed. It is ultimate power when it comes to umpires. Now, the question is, how do we relinquish this power? Do we fire them? Do we fine them? Someone on the broadcast today said, this is grounds for a suspension. In my opinion, it is grounds for a suspension, but let's be clear. This is someone who's probably been on the job for a long time. Once you do this, maybe once or twice, they have got to find a better person for the job. If it's personal, you can't do this job. Once you've proven to me that you can operate under a personal level, when you're talking about freaking baseball, a children's game, we're all just dressing up, having fun. This is baseball. If you're taking it personal because someone doesn't like the call that you made, something's wrong with you, and you shouldn't be a part of this. I'm sorry. And I'm not sorry. But again, I know you brought up a point about the NFL. There's no grounds to eject Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick can mother F you all day long. And guess where he's standing? Right on the sidelines to mother F you for the second, third, and fourth quarter.
You're good.
Correct.
But no one ever hits the umpire, and they still get tossed.
Have you seen Bryce Harper punch Angel Hernandez before?
I'd pay to see it, but no, I have not.
We were talking about Logan Paul. I'm like, to hell with Logan Paul. I need to see Bryce Harper and Angel Hernandez in the ring. But let's be serious. We've hardly ever seen it where someone bumps an umpire. It's like once a year max. Yeah. And it's like ridiculous dudes in the league that you would predict would do it. But again, I know for a fact Aaron Boone's not going out there and putting his hands on anyone. You know what he's doing? He's saying we're savages in the box. And him doing that is grounds to go take a shower. Get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
It's stupid, man.
It is stupid. And you know what? This game wasn't really that intriguing. So I'm glad we covered most of that because I think it's a real issue in baseball. And I think, I saw some things like where, you see some comments on Twitter and it's these people that don't follow baseball. A lot of the NFL accounts were reposting it. And I was surprised to see how many said, I was thinking about getting into baseball, but I don't think I could deal with this. And you see what I mean? It's just like, there you go. It turns people off. It's the same thing. Like you have the people that are like, man, I used to love watching the NBA, but it's just always free throws, I mean,
This is true.
I think at some point or another, there needs to be a serious overhaul. And you kind of mentioned it last episode, like, okay, Rob Manfred's not going to be around forever. I think the next person that comes in is going to have something big done about the umpires because I just don't think umpires in 2024 aren't even necessary. I mean, we already talked about
No.
that.
No, because these games, baseball is not a game that's a subjectively called game. For example, the NFL is. The NFL, we talked about it last episode. Yeah, did he hold him too much for the point where he couldn't actually go up for the ball? That's going to be subjective. It's not going to be as much of an objective call as the way baseball is with a strike zone. Now, the crazy part is like we're sitting here talking about the game of baseball where all the power is in the hands of a Major League Baseball umpire to which we really don't want to build a relationship with him at all. And we want to be clear on this show. Jake and I agree at some point or another, there needs to be some level of respect and where you quit bitching about the strike zone, you quit bitching about this call, that call, whatever it is. But the issue at hand is that there is no threshold. There is no line in the sand that you can't cross. It's all subjective. And no one has to agree with the decision that was made except for one individual who clearly is back there because he does have a God complex. It's a problem. And at some point or another, like you said, Jake, there has to be a checks and balances to where they say, we need to, yeah, maybe you can have the authority to put something in motion that needs to be addressed that's dangerous out on the field. Yeah, umpires have to have some form of power, but who determines that he's gone too far? Right now, there is nobody. There's no one. We haven't heard of suspensions. The only thing we've heard of is the worst umpire who lives today, who is walking this earth just like you and I, Jake, is Angel Hernandez. And he's not only losing his job, he's suing Major League Baseball. He sued Major League Baseball because he wasn't getting essentially tasked with postseason ball. That's actually happening. So that's how nervy these guys are. So just in case you guys thought these umpires were like, we're doing a shit job, but we're protected by this. No, they think they're doing a fine job. They do. They really do. They think they're doing an excellent job because they, for the most part, in comparison to these other umpires, do a good job. But just because you're better than someone else who's shit at it doesn't mean you're good. It just means that humans in general need to be phased out of this line of work, not all lines of work. That I don't want you a part of this shit.
No, absolutely not. And I mean, I'll take it a step further. When you're looking at just all the gambling stuff that's hovering over baseball right now, with the Otani, Ippei, I don't even know if I said his name right, all that stuff, right?
Close
and
enough.
you see it in you see it in basketball. Jonte Porter just got banned forever. You saw it in football. Calvin Ridley had a season ban. He just came back that past year, but he had a season ban. And you also had other guys. I mean, so what I'm getting at here is that right now, sports gambling is bigger than it's ever been. And I also was seeing comments on social media like, man, something about this feels off. Like, why is the manager of a team that is an odds 215 favorite getting tossed in the second pitch? And you could say, all right, that's ridiculous. Baseball isn't rigged or anything, and that's not what I'm saying. But you have a lot of that hanging over your head already. Having any of these things, and it doesn't necessarily have to be this occurrence. The one last night with Colorado. I mean, people are genuinely starting to be like, hey, hold on a second. Pause. I don't like the way this played out. This feels like this has something to do with Vegas. And
Because
it's
when
like,
the integrity is compromised, at the very least, the second that the door is now open, that's a bad thing. Not if it's like concluded, just the fact that you do see, like you said, dudes on the Raptors, like even saying, hey, he seems like he's rigging the game. You know what someone would have told you? That's pretty far fetched, man. And then it
yeah,
turns out one of his best buddies is missing. He's like, hey, I need you to go miss shots on purpose and get the under for 80 grand to go win like $1 million. So again, when that Pandora's box is open, now Major League Baseball, instead of going with it, with the tide, you need to go against that. You need to go against the grain. And against the grain is, hey, just when you thought we could potentially be putting things in motion that could be essentially ruining the integrity of this sport, we're going to go in a more objective direction. And I think that that would probably be smart for baseball. We know, here's what we do know, Rob Manfred will be leaving baseball very soon. Now, it's going to be very interesting where this game goes because, in general, this game is so subjective in a point where I think, and I made this point maybe a few episodes ago, it's harder to subjectively call this game correct the further along we go. Guys are throwing harder, the movement is more ridiculous and pronounced. And unfortunately, we're getting to a position, well, I should say fortunately, because we're getting to a spot where, like you just said, Jake, you just said this. We've got the tech. We've got the tech
for
to
everything.
polish this out. Get these dudes up out of here.
Put a chip right inside all the bases if they're not already, and you can literally detect who hits the base first using I actually heard about this. It was using like body temperature. You can
Right.
literally map out where each foot hit and if who hit first, and now you don't need humans. And I mean the same thing with like Colorado wins if you just use a freaking launch monitor. Instead we have to have an old guy look under, through the thing and be like, yeah, I'd say he's out because he may or may not have interfered. I'm like, the ball was going over the fence anyway. Like, he didn't interfere. The ball was going over the fence. The fan just didn't catch it.
Brother, humans can't be relied on. Has anyone ever been to jury duty?
Oh, and by the
If you
way,
go to jury
I'm
duty, you're going to be super
anti-AI.
disappointed.
Like, I'm the anti-AI dude. So I'm not like pro
Same.
technology for everything. So let me make that very clear. I'm not just somebody who wants everything technological
Right.
advanced. Like, this to me needs to be. This is an upgrade. You can make it better. We've seen the clips, the minor league clips and everything. You can make it better. I'm not going to talk about this anymore because if we continue to do that, we're just going to be called the Umps Unloaded show. So